Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here, this time reviewing on DC Comics Presents Annual Number 3. Now as you know, the annual of the third issue of DC Comics Presents is meant to feature Dr. Sivana as basically Captain Sivana, and his appearance and storyline was used for Batman the Brave and the Bold. And let's get on the story. It starts off how in New York City, Superman is taking down a giant robot, saying, "That's one hunk of scrap metal, but I can't let it turn this town into more of the same." And of course, after doing some investigating with his supervision, he sees that it's basically Dr. Sivana, saying, "Ha ha ha, this Caped Clown is even more bigger boob than Captain Marvel." So of course tries to take him on, and of course throws him into a building. Superman mainly tries to kind of break through, trying to take down Dr. Sivana's robot mech suit. And of course each of them do get blows, but Superman being victorious, and even using his sort of head skate pod to try and escape, but sees that some civilians are in danger and tries to save them. So of course, after basically heading back to the Daily Planet, he knows that Captain Marvel will probably take care of the situation. We see how Dr. Sivana makes it to the Rock of Eternity and figures about using the wizard's powers for his next sinister plot, and uses his ship's device to kind of link him to his sort of device, and plans to ship on Captain Marvel's powers, and of course tries to make a big announcement. Billy Batson goes through, says the magic words, and so after basically using his device to kind of tap into Billy Batson's powers, we see how Captain Marvel goes in trying to stop Dr. Sivana, and he sees to his shock and horror that Dr. Sivana has become Captain Sivana and tries to take him on. And we do kind of see how, Dr. Sivana's a lot more stronger than Captain Marvel. And of course, after basically knocking him down and wanting to see him basically finally beaten, we see how Mary and Freddy transform into their sort of Captain Marvel forms, much to Dr. Sivana's dismay, as he never thought about basically using their lightning bolts as well. So after kind of giving them a sort of slip case, we kind of see how, Dr. Sivana shows Captain Marvel his work, and even shows how he's used the other mystical heroes' worst traits. And of course, Captain Marvel's furious, and you kind of see how Sivana's gloating and decides to leave him deep into a hole, and him finally winning. And after this, kind of gives the Marvel family a beating. And after duking a few punches, we see how, he gives them the slip, thinking that he's gone into the past or future. And we see how, he decides to kind of take on Superman once again. But of course, we see how he ends up on Earth 2, unknown to him. He thinks this is Earth 1. And we do kind of see how, the Earth 2 Superman tries to take him on. And this is where Dr. Sivana realizes that he's on the wrong Earth, and this is the Earth 2 Superman. And of course, Earth 2 Superman isn't at his peak as his Earth 1 counterpart due to his old age, gets badly pummeled down. So of course, leaves him off into space with some kryptonite until a meteor can basically knock him out. And even basically heads back to Earth 1, and we do kind of see how, Captain Marvel is at a dismay that he's finally been beaten. We see how, at the Daily Planet, we see how Lana and even Clark Kent, are about to do their news broadcast, until Dr. Sivana comes crashing, saying, "You want action? I'll show you action. Lana, get down." And of course, Manly makes it look like he's been knocked out, but of course, just as Lana gives the announcements about Dr. Sivana's plans, Superman comes in guns and blazing. And after, Dr. Sivana and Superman trade punches, and even Dr. Sivana using large buildings and that to throw at Superman, we see how Dr. Sivana gets into a locomotive and shows off what he's found. A whole truckload of kryptonite that's gonna basically weaken him. And of course, uses kryptonite brass knuckles to duke it out with Superman. And after Captain Marvel gets inspired to keep trying to put up the fight, and after basically trying to lift through the rock, we see how the other legendary figures like Mercury, Hercules, Solomon, also Zeus and that give him encouragement, and this is him finding his strength again, and of course heads out to try and take down Dr. Sivana before delivering the killing blow. And of course, Superman comes to his senses and helps rescue his Earth 2 counterpart. And after knocking out Captain Sivana, we see the wizard finally waking up and seeing to his shock and horror that Sivana's basically been empowered, but removes the lightning bolt. And of course, Captain Marvel saying, "Magic lightning, it can only mean one thing. The wizard no longer sleeps." So after this, Dr. Sivana is taken by Mary Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr. to be taken to their Earth to face trial, and everyone's saying goodbye to each other. And this is the story. So I think this story is pretty basic. It's the typical Superman Shazam storyline, where, we're gonna see Shazam a little put under the rug, trying to make Superman a bit too much of the main focus. I think it's important to kind of make sure they're both equally done as right, but other words, not a bad story. So I think it deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.